Popular programming languages tend to be popular because they can consistently do what they're good at. There are also a lot of niche markup languages that can be fun, a variety of domain-specific languages. What if we have a career for about 2 Olympic cycles, then describe it online for about 2 years? Then say that entry level is whatever we've described online for 2 years. Because currently, there's an expectation that there's 5 years of something that seems abstract, and then people go through a process and then they're frustrated. What if we made it more deterministic by saying, just copy this channel and then talk to me? This is 2025. Maybe reach out to me in 2027 via TikTok. Cheers. Embedded programming is what makes software for devices, and it's possible to use microcontrollers to make a lot of different types of devices. We also have literary devices, so it's possible to use language and hardware to communicate ideas. Software engineering involves a compromise between what's possible with hardware and what's mostly possible with language, or the latent space that comes between the markers of what we can identify, what we can semiotically anchor. Practicing software engineering can develop skills in navigating logic and structuring information. Computer science can describe more of the math and theory behind software. There was a book a few years ago called Cracking the Coding Interview that was pretty useful for navigating a lot of the preliminary concepts into computer science. Getting hired as a software engineer is a different goal than learning computer science. Cheers. It is important to mind the winds of psychology when approaching new technologies and discussions about media. New media can be overwhelming for a variety of reasons. That's just the way that new media exist in the ways that we interact with them. There have also been traditions that have existed for thousands of years, and a relationship to innovation and the reasons why different cultures and oof. Like we have ink as a concept, and ink has existed for a long time, and we also have new types of pens that are being invented every year. Over the course of a lifetime, ideally, we would develop new relationships to the media that we find the most relatable to the kinds of relationship that we spiritually want to engage with in media. And that's a personal relationship. You might not want a website, you might just want your domain, and you might just want that for your own peace of mind. You don't need to ask me to get a domain, and I am not sure why you haven't yet. They cost different amounts per year depending on your top level domain. You can learn more about what a TLD is. The reason that you would hire me as a web developer is because of my approach. It is also the way that I produce media. It extends into the ways that I relate to community, the concept, and the spaces where I find it. Cheers. Software engineering has a lot of rogue psychological drains that impact the team, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's just something that happens. Being aware of these can being aware of them can make or break the long-term success of a team, and there isn't an exhaustive list of psychological ailments that a team can endure. The one that's on my mind today is when a relatively early in their career software engineer realizes that something that seemed expensive from the outside is really easy for them to do now. I'll need to make another video that has clearer language than this one because this one's just off the top of my mind. But it's the idea like, oh, people are spending thousands of dollars for this. I could have done this in 2 minutes. And the placement of that frame is the thing that's psychologically impactful because it feels like it should just be 2 minutes. And then it's frustrating because why are 2 minute problems just everywhere? And the reality is that it might seem like it takes 2 minutes to build an interface, but if people still need to learn how to navigate that interface, it might cost hours per year. Some people are just not going to engage with tasks that take hours. So if a 2 minute decision causes hours of potential work, sometimes that means $30,000 projects fall through. $30,000 is transportation, it's medicine, it's treatment, it's A lot of things. Housing. So, a really simple decision that seems like, oh, this person has a request. They asked me to write code. It's easy for me to write code. It takes 2 minutes for me to write code, but it adds hours of potential cost to whoever is administering that web page, which means the task down the line doesn't get done, which means someone goes without treatment or transportation or housing. Hire experienced engineers. Cheers. If you want to participate in RPG Wednesday, make a character sheet. Or know someone who has made a character sheet. The point of this is to encourage storytelling, also to meditate on mindful production processes. Processes? Flows? I've been a software engineer for a while. A lot of people find software boring. I want to create optional structures. I tend to. Perhaps the structures I practice define me. I can reflect on that. If you have a website design, people can recognize it. Branding. I've been a software engineer for about 14 years. I've been coding for about 14 years and have been focusing on engineering for about 10 years. Varying degrees of intensity. A variety of languages. Software engineering is mostly philosophy. 11 years ago, I attended a research-oriented university where I built a learning circuit between photonic systems and adult learning. I went to college for electrical and computer engineering and eventually majored in learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. If you're a software engineer, find a concise way to describe your unique skill set. Every team is going to have unique needs. Start the conversation. Cheers. A lot of people aren't creative, and I am. Give me money. Now it's possible to code an app and make a TikTok per feature and then only market the features that people have expressed interest in. There are discussions about vibe coding, and it's almost like it's a low quality version of engineering in the minds of people who use that concept. The point is that experienced engineers can quickly iterate. Organized teams can quickly create videos. I have an organized team. Hire me for app development. You might want a website. App ecosystems are often more engaging, and also events on TikTok and Discord. This is the new space of web administration. Cheers. Splashy, I didn't appreciate when you implied I wasn't creative. Oop. How do you practice creativity? That's not the point of this discussion. It's pretty common for us to acknowledge that nonverbal communication can impact our mood, but we don't really take into account how many interfaces we navigate and how that impacts our mood. Humans and smartphones have different physiology, and the motives from different platforms are not necessarily aligned with any individual's attentional needs. So, just in the chaos of the internet, it is possible for us to navigate an amount or a kind of interface sequence that causes physiological stress over time. Some of these are muscles that we can practice, and we can practice by intentionally navigating the attention that we devote to these interfaces. Mantras like create more than you consume can be very impactful per medium. So I can say something like, if you want to stand out, you need to be good at telling stories. But what if everyone's good at telling stories, and they keep getting longer? Do we optimize for the most concise? What if every Wednesday is RPG Wednesday, and we have a rhythm, and we optimize for rhythm? I have meetings every day. Do I want meetings every day? If I don't have meetings, nothing happens. I can keep that rhythm. It's possible to imagine software that can't function, and there are languages that make it impossible to write software that won't work. And when I say work, I mean it won't do literally what the software is described to do, because the software you write can run but still not make any sense. Software engineers often spend a lot of time navigating business logic to make sure the things the business is trying to do can actually happen. I would recommend I would recommend scheduling time with an experienced software engineer and talking through a project that you want to implement to see if it's possible. I would also recommend practicing exploring what you can do. Sometimes you might be able to save a lot of money by talking through what you're trying to do and seeing if it can be theoretically implemented at all. Cheers.